You're tuned in to The Keitra Show and listening to SOB, Style of Business, the podcast with your host, Keitra. We aim to highlight the ongoing trek of entrepreneurs and business owners from around the globe, featuring stories that recount their struggles, experiences, and inevitable road to success and self-fulfillment. Welcome to SOB.
Before we get started, the Vision Alignment Blueprint is now available on Gumroad for creatives seeking clarity and alignment. You'll find the link in the show notes. And one more thing I want to share. If you want a boost for your mind and your body, I have been really enjoying Canabolics. The Rise and Grind Daily Drops in the morning, the Deeply Rested Sleep Drops at night, and the Soothing Freeze Gel whenever I need it. You can check out the links to the products in the show notes. Hey, what's up, y'all? Thanks so much for tuning in and checking out another wonderful episode of SOB Style of Business, the podcast. This is your host, Keitra. And today I am back with another awesome interview. Today I'm talking to Stacy Heisey-Terrell, who is a career ownership coach. And today she's going to be talking to us about career transitions and how she helps people own their time and also own their future. So it should be an exciting conversation. You guys make sure that you tune in, especially if you are pivoting or if you're looking to do something different. You do not want to miss this episode. And without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce Stacy, and we will keep the ball rolling from there. All right, Stacy, go ahead and drop that introduction for us. Let us know a little bit about your background, and we are going to keep moving forward from there.
Great. Good. Well, thank you so much for inviting me to your podcast. I'm happy to be here. I am a career ownership coach with the Entrepreneur Source, and I work just like you said in the introduction. I work with folks who may be thinking, what else is out there? Am I missing something? How do we take a moment to realign or just check alignment? Is my career, is my job getting me to my goals? And so I have a lot of fun with folks thinking through and getting written down what are those big goals as far as income, lifestyle, wealth, equity that people have out on the horizon, and then to get creative about exploring career potential and career opportunities to head towards those goals.
Yeah, that's definitely exciting, especially when you're, if you've worked at a place for so many years and it's time to do something new. A lot of people get that itch to where they're ready for something new. And I love this conversation just because I know, like, when I was looking at your own history and your own background, how you transitioned out of human resources into doing your own thing as an entrepreneur. Like, do you want to talk a little bit about how you just came to the realization, like, okay, hey, maybe there's something else for me, and then we can get it. Yeah, you you already like, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think once we find something that we're good at, and then we're kind of on that track, it's hard to jump to a different track. So I was laughing because, I think I sort of fell into HR. I wasn't a little girl dreaming to be an HR lady when I grew up. And I enjoyed it. I was successful and just kept going. And throughout my career, I'd run into kind of you have those moments where you're hitting a wall. I'm missing a promotion, or I'm really not. I feel like I might be compromising some of my ethics or integrity. I'm doing things I don't really enjoy. I had to lay a lot of people off. It was very hard. And so you go. I was going through these things and came to a point where I'm like, oh my gosh, there really has to be another way to make a living, right? And be happy and get a little more of what I want. I wanted a little more control over my schedule. I didn't want to travel as much. all that good stuff. And so I met a coach and we started talking. And really, I found when I did some soul searching, my decades in HR, the things that I love the most, coaching employees and leaders, being strategic, building teams, all those talents, like how do we use that instead of building a corporation? Could I turn that over and work on behalf of the individual? And so now I feel like I'm kind of doing similar things that I've always done, but from the flip side, right? So I'm helping employees, like instead of backbending and stretching ourselves to fit the corporation, what type of opportunities, what career fits you, fits your life, and fits kind of the season your family's in, what you're looking for. And that's really fun to think about.
No, I totally agree with you on that. And it definitely is. And what I'm witnessing, and I'm pretty sure that you're familiar with the things, some of the things that you're seeing as well, is like a lot of people are really trying to get out of that traditional job setup. Yeah. You got a lot of people that do want to work for themselves. They want to step into their creative calling. But I do find that fear, holds us back. Like it'll keep us bound because we do have bills to get paid, and things like that. Like, so I know for you, this was more of you, kind of stepping into what you were already good at. But for those of us who, we have things and ideas, and maybe there's something that we're specifically interested in that we could carry from a traditional job or career, but we're afraid. Like, what do those first steps look like when it comes to working with somebody like you? Like, okay, it's like if I come to you, hey, Stacy, I know I want to do this, but hey, I got these bills, I have to do this. I have responsibilities, and I'm just afraid of taking that leap of faith. Like, what are some of the things that, or first steps, and then I guess we can get into that a little bit more as we go.
Yeah, you're absolutely. It's terrifying to think about, right? So there are probably listeners that their heart's pounding a little bit, like, oh my gosh, I could never do that, right? And of course, like that would be nuts, right? So what I do as a coach is, how do we, first of all, just explore what else is there? What else is out there? So I have worked with clients and who've spent years developing this wonderful expertise, building their skills, their knowledge, building these wonderful networks. And we identify what are those skills and abilities? What is transferable? What are those things that really transcend job title or industry even? And every person has those, right? Like if you're a leader, you're a leader. If you organize things, if you're a project manager, if you're a data analyst, you're an analyst, right? And so we try to pull back a little bit to, okay, these skills and abilities, the environments that we really thrive in, and the types of people, on our teams, or types of customers that we really enjoy working with. We try to identify those things and then think creatively, how can we replicate this? And sometimes it's hopping over to a different job title or trying a different industry. Sometimes it is like business ownership. And I get folks who are like, I don't want to work for anyone else.
Exactly.
If I have to have a boss, I'm going to die, right? I was there. I'm like, don't make me report to somebody else.
Right.
So we try to get creative. Okay, if this is what you bring to the table, how could you apply that? Well, in business ownership, there's hundreds, thousands of different avenues to go down. So it's really important kind of distilling what is that criteria that you're using to judge whether an opportunity is good or not. Does it fit the income? can you make the money that you need to make, that you want to make?
Yeah.
Does it give you the lifestyle? I have some people who are like, I would trade some income if I didn't have to work, if I own my schedule, or vice versa, right? What's the community impact or a legacy you're thinking about leaving? Are those compelling reasons, motivators to think about making a change? What are those things? So we spend some time identifying what that is, and then, okay, how do we put batteries in the flashlight and turn it on to start looking in these dark rooms that we haven't been in before?
Exactly.
How do we ask those questions? Pull the data, talk to people. How do other people do this? People open businesses all the time. They're not all millionaires.
Exactly.
How do they make it work? What are they doing? What do they know that you don't know yet? And so we could try to get really curious and interested in that fact finding. And as we gather data, usually the data combats the fear, right? The fear goes down, and you start imagining, I can see myself doing this, or you know what, I can't.
Exactly.
I don't want to do this.
Right.
I could need to go back to the job, which is good too, because it's like, well, now we know.
No. Yeah. Well, yeah. No, and that's awesome still, because even if they do have to go back, maybe there's a newfound perspective, after speaking with somebody like you to offer that insight. I'm curious to know, what is the biggest hang up that people have, in your experience, when it comes to a career transition or stepping into business ownership is a totally different beast, but specific, you know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. I think people, if they're looking at a different industry or different type of job or business ownership, the number one thing I hear from people is, I've never done that before. I wasn't trained to do that. I'm not an expert at that. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
You weren't an expert in your current job either until you started doing it. But I think that, I think sometimes the older we get, the harder it is to try something totally new or kind of get in that curiosity or learner's perspective. So for sure, there's new things to learn. But really, I think people are sometimes surprised at there's not as much new stuff as I thought. I really do have good experience, good education, good networks. I talk to people who I've had all kinds of experiences that I'm bringing with me, and people who could help me. And it's really, I need to apply that maybe in a new way, but it might not be as new or as, moonshot as you think. It might be like, okay, this is doable. And I think that's really that experience, going through some of that discovery, can be super empowering when people realize, I thought the only game in town was this job that I really do not like. And when you start seeing oh no, you know what? There are other people who could totally use my skills, other ways I can apply what I like to do, then I think sometimes that job that we're in that we don't like, we have a different perspective on.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't need it,
Exactly.
or maybe they need to be a little happier to have you there. And it takes some of that pressure off. You've got options.
Yeah. And a lot of, and I think that's where we forget, we forget that we do have options. And those of us who have been on these and held different positions and with different jobs or the same job rather, for 10, 15, 20 years, I hear a lot of people say that they don't want to let go of their 401k, or they, all of this vacation stuff built up. But at the end of the day, like, I feel like what you're saying and what you offer is really giving people an opportunity to not only transfer their skills, but also to like step into a new identity, like a new, what do they call them?
Yeah.
When you do the, oh my gosh, it slipped my mind. There's a word for it, but it's like an identity shift. You know, when you, a makeover,
sure.
career makeover type deal. So
Yeah,
but
sure.
you want to speak to that a little bit, like, and I was going to ask you specifically the question, but I cannot remember and I'm pretty sure it'll probably come back to me, but like, oh, that's what it is. Career reinvention, like people who are looking to reinvent themselves. Like what would you compare some of what you do to helping people reinvent themselves? Maybe they're, wanting to do something because they have been doing the same thing for the last 15, 20 years. And, it's time for something different, time for something that's a little bit more lifestyle driven, something more aligned, like you said. You want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, I love that because I think, a lot of our goals when we're early in our career, we're climbing the ladder, we're making the money, we're getting promotions, I'm getting a team, I'm getting the office, whatever the thing is. We're chasing that. And then we might come to a place where it's like, oh, I'm at the top of the mountain or pretty close. And what else am I doing?
Right.
I get some people who are like, I'm just a little bored. And they feel bad because they're like, I'm paid well, I enjoy my people, whatever, but I'm kind of bored. What else? Or this fit when I was in my early 20s, but it doesn't fit now that I've got kids or grandkids or things that I'm missing or things I want to do. I want to take 2 weeks off and go to Italy and I just can't do it. Whatever those things are. And I think it's when people feel that some of that dissatisfaction, that's a good signal to say, okay, let's stop. Are your goals the same as they were in your early career, or have your goals shifted? Is income still the driver? Maybe or maybe not. Some people feel like they've kind of hit a ceiling. How can I jump my income? I'm at the top. Like, what do I do? And some are like, I would trade this if I didn't have to travel or didn't have to work weekends or wasn't on call, those sorts of things. So taking some time to identify what that is, where is that dissatisfaction coming from? And what would it look like to be in a better situation? What could that look like? And then how do we explore to see where that is? Is that possible? Is it doable? What kind of trade-offs? You might have to say goodbye to the 401k that you've built over the last 10 years, but you might have greater income potential, or you might get to add some lifestyle. So what are those trade-offs? How do you feel about them? How does your family feel about them, your partner? And we talk about that. And with the career reinvention, I find a lot of my clients, often we introduce ourselves and we say what we do, right? I'm a director, I'm a data analyst, I'm a whatever, I'm an HR manager. And that's kind of our identity. But what if that shifted? What if instead of those things we identified as I'm a leader of people, or I'm making an impact on my community, or, I'm around for my kids. I get to see all the bowl games that they're involved in. Isn't that intriguing? Don't you want to talk to that person that you meet at a party, right? And so sometimes even just taking a minute to imagine, like, well, how do I want to define myself? What is my idea of success? And then it's like, well, I could be a business owner. I could own really any type of business and be a leader in my community or an employer, or a problem solver or whatever that thing is, that driver is. And it can be very empowering because there isn't one right answer, right? There's lots of right answers. And so we're not just stuck in our current situation. There are lots of other options.
Wow. I'm still stuck on what you said about, reassessing our goals, because I can remember specifically when I was working in marketing, when you start and everything is, you like what you see, you like the work that you're doing, you like the impact that you are providing to the people who use your services. We rarely think about our own personal goals outside of whatever that project is or whoever that client is. Like and I'm talking about not only financial goals, but just like mindset, like what do you want to be business wise? What sort of leadership, what sort of skills do you want to have? Like how often should we reassess those career goals that are personal to us? And I'm not talking about like the business goals for the company, but like specifically for that person. If you don't mind sharing your insight on that.
Yeah, well, I think so. A few things on goals. It's super important to have goals. We know that, and often in the business setting, like we're setting goals for our team, or we've got goals for the year, for the quarter, whatever. But those personal goals, a lot of times we neglect that. What are they? And that could be just something very simple. But taking some time to identify what they are, and then research shows if you write down your goals, just writing them down, you are 3 times more likely to achieve them. So just by doing that, right? So having a little discipline of writing them down, thinking about them. And then I think when you feel that itch, or you're feeling that, like we get all the little signs that we're misaligned, right? Like things just aren't totally setting right. They're not, we're a little on edge. Revisiting those goals. Are they still the goals? Did we re-achieve them? We might have achieved them and didn't set new ones.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Right. Or, getting, like I had a goal. I have twins who were in college, right? So I had a goal, like just getting through all the testing and applications and getting them into college. Well, we achieved that, right? I need to set something new, right? We're going on a trip. Well, once you go on the trip, you got to think about the next one. So I love the idea of writing down your goals, getting them in front of your face somewhere, on your desk, on the refrigerator, or posted on the wall, by the bed, whatever works for you. And they can be complex. I want to build my business, or I want to have, 10 people working for me, and they can be like, I want to go on summer vacation, right?
Yeah, exactly.
How am I going to be intentional about that? And getting that, again, what's going to work to get it to top of mind, get your eyeballs on it regularly.
Yeah. And that is the meat and potatoes. Especially when you just writing it down, get you a couple of, cool points up the ladder, right? Yeah. That's the least you could do is write it down. If you don't do nothing else.
When you take a test and it's like, oh, you get 5 points for writing your
name. Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. Just write down the goal. You're getting lots of points.
Yeah, that works for me. That definitely works for me. That's perfect. All right, so I want to talk. We're going to talk a little bit more. I want to get into your services now. I am a mid-level or executive looking to switch careers after being 15 years at this one company. I call up Stacy and I'm like, hey, can you help me? Tell us a little bit about how or where would someone begin? Like if they were in that specific scenario, like how would they start when it comes to working with you and the services that you provide?
Yeah. And, I love working with the mid-career folks who they have ideas about what they like and they've had experiences. But I'm finding more and more our young people, they're coming to it a little quicker.
Yeah.
Than at least
Right.
I did, right? So,
Oh, my goodness,
yeah. So, any age is the right
Hey,
age.
you know what
to
you want,
start.
you know what you want, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first step, if you're feeling some of that, I don't know, I might need to examine this a little bit, or I feel that little itch of I might be misaligned. Where do I start? I would say go to my website, mylifemybiz.com. So mylifemybiz, B-I-Z. And that takes you right into a contact card to get onto my schedule. My coaching for your audience is complimentary. So it doesn't cost you anything but a little time and some self-reflection, which that isn't cheap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but,
it's true.
It's not a financial cost. And then I use a few different exercises to really start digging into what are those big goals on the horizon? What are things you really enjoy doing or environments that you love working in? How do we start teasing out, again, what are the capital S skills and capital A abilities that transcend job title and industry and maybe even tenure? What are those things that you really like to do? What is missing in your current environment? And then how can we start getting creative about where to find that, where to grow this good little greenhouse that you can plug yourself into.
Yeah. No, that's perfect to be able to get started. And so basically you can help anybody who is feeling that resistance, that just kind of needs that fresh set of eyes to take a look and say, hey, let's start here.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and I think I personally enjoy when, I do all my calls on Zoom, and so you can see in someone's face, right, when they're having an aha, the light bulb is coming on, and they're starting to think oh yeah, okay, I have options. I can get creative. I know people. I have people to talk to, and ways to get more information. It can be really exciting and life-giving.
Yeah, no, that's what we need, more people like you who are out there advocating for those of us who we want to own our own time. We want to own our own future. And so this is really good. And I think that a lot of the listeners would benefit from just understanding you don't have to stay stuck, So that is perfect. And Stacy, I want to ask you to leave a couple of words of encouragement to anybody who's still on the fence about, just taking that leap of faith, because sometimes we get comfortable and we need to know that it's okay to do something different. Just because we've been good at X, Y, and Z for a certain amount of years doesn't mean that we can't reinvent ourselves. So leave a couple of words of encouragement, and then also go ahead and drop your social media handles and website if anybody wants to book a consultation or learn more about you as well.
Sure, absolutely. So I have a sign on my desk that says a life-changing moment happens when you take that first step to do something different. So often we want our lives to be different, but that first step is really scary. So I think finding a way to take some action towards your goal, even if the goal is I just need things to be different, I need to feel better. What is that first step to take? And And often,
Right, yeah.
and you know this, often it's easier with a coach or when you
Of
have a
course,
buddy,
yeah.
right, who can cheer you along too. So I would love to, to be there. There's lots of coaches out there, but I love going on this journey with people. So again, you can find me at my website, which is just mylifemybiz.com. And my name is not easy. It's Stacy Heisey-Terrell. So if you can find me on LinkedIn, that's another good place to connect. I use LinkedIn quite a bit. So even Stacy at the Entrepreneur Source, you can get close.
Close to it, okay.
And yeah, and we'll share data too once this podcast is out there. I'm
That's
sure you
perfect.
can find me through Team Keitra too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we will make it our business to blast out the reel, and of course this will be included in the show notes. So if you're listening and you're interested and this is something that you have been thinking about as far as your career, make sure that you reach out to Stacy to learn more about what she does and just see what the possibilities are. Like I'm advocating this year, all the year through, for people who are looking to do something different. We're tired. We don't want to stay stuck in the same rut. So you guys reach out to Stacy, and Stacy, thank you so much again for being a guest, and we look forward to your continued success as well.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. My pleasure.
Thanks for hanging out with us here on SOB. We hope this episode has been resourceful. If you'd like to check out the latest articles or follow Keitra's website updates, just log on to keitra.com or follow her on Twitter at KEETRIA.